Let's talk about the war on people with disabilities. What the heck am I talking about? Now, I did at one point used to work within the disability services industry. I did used to work at a residence slash facility for disabled kiddos and troubled youth. Did not work directly with the clients, need to get that out of the way. I work maintenance. I fix things. I like fixed walls, fixed doorknobs, this, that, and the other thing. However, there were a lot of things that I did notice in that very often it's hard to tell. A lot of folks have different ideas in people's minds that, oh, well, you got kind of like Tiny Tim or something like that, somebody that has a physical disability. That's totally a thing. That's totally something we see. There's also the issue of mental health, in that these are potential wounds that we don't see. This happens for all different reasons. Some folks are born with it. Some folks, they develop this just over a number of years. Often trauma is involved. And the way a lot of these folks, we often refer to them as neuroatypical, in that we believe that the way we see things, because I did a Maps of Meaning episode the other day, just a lot of folks, we can't even agree upon certain things. So as soon as there's any type of controversy, it gets exacerbated. So when you're dealing with something that's as sensitive as mental health, as disability, that's an additional intersect, a complication, just another frame that we need to keep in mind. And there's certain things that I've noticed where I'll be talking to folks on Discord, on the internet, and all of a sudden somebody will say, oh, well, I happen to be banned, temporarily suspended, this, that, or the other thing. And when you talk to folks for a while and they're actually willing to open up, a lot of these folks will tell me it's okay, maybe they happen to be on the spectrum. Maybe there's a particular confluence of events that lead them to a particular situation. And we very often don't talk about this. And this is incredibly important because, yeah, somebody may get banned from Facebook, Twitter, something like that. I mean, that seems kind of basic, but we are restricting people's ability to communicate. Freedom of speech. These are important things. And these are members of our communities. These are our fellow human beings. And if we kind of set a particular standard or something, okay, well, that's fine. But a number of folks, just even when I brought it up, it's like, well, do you kind of see how maybe this was just influencing this in a particular way? And they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I can kind of see that, because if you actually happen to have something that maybe are a little bit different, maybe you view the world a little bit differently. Maybe you're not all that great at socializing in particular ways that just your average Sally, Dick, or Jane would. And as soon as you start to add in additional factors as well, whether it's dealing with law enforcement, working at a particular job, working within a particular industry, these are things that, especially if folks don't know, because when I worked at a place, it's like I talk to folks, it's maybe sometimes where it's like, I'm not sure who's a client, who's a staff member, because you don't know. These are our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our sons, our daughters. These are members of our community. And if we have difficulty talking about this, because there are a lot of folks that don't want to talk about it, because it's hard. Because some folks, maybe they were brought up, it's like, oh, you're never supposed to show any type of weakness. You're never supposed to show any type of just vulnerability. Okay, yeah, no, I grew up in that time. It's like, oh yeah, big girls, big guys, oh, they're not supposed to cry or anything. Yeah, I still remember the Macho Man on Arsenio Hall when Arsenio asked him, it's like, does Macho Man ever cry? He's like, ooh, yeah. He's like, I've cried 1,000 times and I'll cry some more, but nobody likes a quitter. And that just really resonated with me, because there's so many things that are very personal. Now, you don't always need to overshare like myself. I'm terrible at that. But then again, I was also told by an internationally certified board behavior analyst that I'm kind of spectrumy. I can completely believe that. I can be very literal at times. But the sheer fact that we have difficulty talking about this and at times are unwilling to talk about this, it starts to make me think. It's like, what happens if you got somebody and they're interacting with law enforcement? And law enforcement is trained a particular way. We can get into the nitty gritty of law enforcement training in these United States. We could talked about that a little bit before. We'll talk about that again. But just if police are looking for a certain factor, certain things that maybe they're viewing as, okay, maybe they're a suspect, maybe they're doing something that, oh, well, this is suspicious here. It's like, okay, maybe it is suspicious. Maybe they're up to something. Maybe they happen to have a potential disorder. Maybe they happen to have a disability. Because we don't necessarily go around broadcasting this and everything because of HIPAA, and it's personal. But I do think we need to talk about these things more, because I hear all these different situations where it's like, all right, we could use a social worker. You know what? If somebody actually has an issue, having somebody that actually knows how to deal with folks that maybe have been through this, or just even somebody that they truly care about. Because I remember there was an incident, I forget the situation, where there happened to be a young woman and she happened to call the police. Her son actually happened to have some special needs. He happened to have some problems. For her child to get care, it was something like $1,500 a night. It was extremely expensive. That just, unless you're getting assistance to pay for it, or you happen to be incredibly wealthy, most folks can't afford this. The police end up going in. She happened to not know whether her son happened to be armed. Maybe it was a BB gun. She wasn't sure. Her son ended up going to the hospital after being shot a number of times. And these are just the stories we're hearing about. I'm afraid these stories actually happen a lot more. Just dealing with the intersect of mental health with law enforcement, that's just a very hot button issue that we don't talk about as much. We talk about race a lot. Yeah, yes, that is important. But now you have all these other factors as well that, you know what, as far as ancestry goes, yeah, very often you can see it within the tone of someone's outward complexion. But when it comes to issues and things that people have been through that just leave potential scars in here, as I start to turn into a level up dragon, it's very difficult. But we need to start doing better. I'm completely open to ideas here because, yeah, getting banned online is one thing. Very often I see a lot of these folks, maybe they were just kind of speaking out. Maybe they weren't necessarily up to what is necessarily appropriate in a given situation. Getting blocked off of Twitter and getting shot are two very different things. And this is something that we need to talk more about, because it is a huge thing. And I see you all there in the chat. I thank you all for joining me. Bone, JJ, Sharati. Quick shout out to my patrons, Joe Franco and Dave M. This broadcast is helped made possible by viewers like you. We do see a lot of stuff happening. And JJ, I hear you, man. I don't necessarily think history completely repeats itself, but it totally rhymes. But just gonna want to get this out there, maybe see if we can get a little bit of a discussion going. Happy to speak with some folks at a later date about this and just kind of be able to share the different situations, because I know within some of the folks I'm within communities with, they have different kiddos and stuff that maybe happen to have some disabilities, and it can put them in some awkward situations. And a lot of folks, if they don't know these things, they may not respond that well. However, if we do have this information, small bit of information can go a long way. Because again, I do think most folks are good people, but everybody's story is different. So this is a tough one. But I thank you all for watching. Peace out, everybody. Be safe, and long live the elbow.